The Journey Unbound is a documentary series that follows the journey across the United States, meeting with military, veterans, and first responders along the way. The series is hosted by me, former Navy SEAL Josh Jakub. The focus is simple: sit down, have real conversations, and document the lived experiences of those who have served. They are honest, first-hand accounts of the challenges that come with service, both on deployment and back home. This is not just a series about service. This is a series about what comes after and how healing is possible.
Over the past few years, I've made a lot of friends who are first responders while working for the AWA. And one thing I've realized is the similarity between military and first responders and the things that each go through both at work and at home. I have a good buddy in law enforcement who told me about one of his officers named Rachel. So I reached out to see if she'd be willing to share her story with me in hopes it would help others heal and find peace.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. How you been? How was your morning?
Good, it was real good.
Good.
How's your ride been?
It's been amazing so far. Weather's been absolutely perfect, so today it's a little overcast.
My junior year of high school is about when I decided that I wanted to be a cop. That back in Lovington, I never saw cops.
Yeah.
There was like maybe 2 occasions where I saw cops. And then we come to Lubbock and like there's cops everywhere. And I thought it was so cool, and what really caught my eye was the pretty lights, right? The red and blue lights. I thought those were so pretty, and just the aspect of going out and helping people, because I was always wanting to help people.
Yeah.
And so my senior year of high school, I did Skills USA, and I competed in the room clearing competition. I had my own room clearing team. Yeah, I was the team leader, and that was where I met my friend Josh Bartlett. Was my senior year of high school, because him and another one, the guy Siggy, were judging it. And so I got to meet them, and I looked at those 2 guys after we had done our competition, just the way that they interacted with each other, both ex-military, and I was like, just the chemistry they had and the brotherhood that I could see that they had. I said, I want to be a part of that. Whatever they got, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
From there, I eventually got on to volunteer with the sheriff's office with those guys to do the role playing for the whole SWAT team. And that's where I got that start and got to really get to know those guys. And be part of that. And they became my family, because I did that for years. My last year of college, I got on as a reserve officer with Levelland Police Department, which is a small town about 30 minutes from Lubbock. And did that for a year, finished out my degrees, graduated college, and then immediately went to Lubbock County Sheriff's Office to work with those guys that I care for so much.
Okay. So when you came on, did you have like a mentor that was one person you looked up to?
Yeah, Josh Bartlett, he was the sergeant of the SWAT team also.
Okay.
So he was the assistant commander of it. And he was the first one that, whenever I started doing the role playing with the SWAT guys, and they're all kind of looking at me sideways, like I'm young, I'm female, I'm small, like they're like, can you really do this job? Josh was the first one that didn't treat me differently because of that. He was the first one that accepted me in that whole group of guys, and once he accepted me, it was just the train that everybody followed his lead, and then I proved myself with them. Throughout getting with Levelland PD, getting on with the sheriff's office, like Josh was always there. He was the one that I would call when I had questions. Even once I was on patrol with the sheriff's office, like I had warrants questions, I'd call him like, hey, can I do this? Is this lawful? Can I break this guy's door down if he does, And he was really my rock with the sheriff's office, and a lot like a father figure to me. That was very special and a big deal to have that and someone to follow and give me some direction.
So since then, have you wanted to get on the SWAT team at all?
Yeah. So back before Josh died, he had wanted me to join the SWAT team. In April of 21, when the tryouts came, and I didn't put a letter in because I felt I wasn't in good enough shape. I was in pretty good shape, and I look back on the weight I was lifting back then, and I'm like, I was stupid not to put in. He had called me afterwards and said, hey, like, I didn't see a letterhead in, what's up? And I told him, I said, I wasn't ready yet. I told him and a couple of the other guys that asked about it, I said, give me 6 months and I'll be in the correct shape and we'll do it. Well, 6 months later, Josh wasn't here no more. July 15th of 21, he was shot and killed in the line of duty. It was a SWAT call out, and the SWAT team went to Levelland, which again is where I got my first law enforcement start. So I knew all the people involved that were in Levelland, and they went over there, had the SWAT call out, and during that, Josh was shot and killed. I was off, I was home. After that, I did not handle it very well. I remember I was told to go to the hospital and guard one of our other guys that had been injured. And I get to the hospital, and I lost my shit at the hospital, and I was sent home. I always regretted not putting in when Josh was here.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest regrets. And since then, I hadn't been back to a SWAT training since then. It's easy to make peace with the fact that I might not make it home,
Yeah.
right? But it's harder to make peace with the fact that my buddy might not make it home.
Yeah.
And of course, we do everything to train and do what we can to make sure it's not on us as to why that person doesn't make it home, right? In the time after that, of course, there's the normal grieving period, right? And the not eating, the not sleeping right, the crying everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
That never stopped for me when it should have. And I knew that I was aware of the fact that I wasn't okay past the point when you should start to be okay after that. Part of it being because those SWAT guys, they were my family. And if something went wrong in my life, they were the ones that I would lean on. But now they're hurting too, so who am I to go to them and say, oh, poor me, I miss Josh. Well, they're missing him more than I am. They know him better than I am. And so I ended up kind of isolating myself from them and from pretty much everybody. As time went on, I tried checking all the boxes. I went through the counseling with the sheriff's department that we have with the employee assistance program. Didn't help. I was diagnosed with all the things: depression, anxiety, PTSD, insomnia.
Yeah.
I was doctor diagnosed me with all that crap. The medication did help. It was something I was really against initially. It was sort of a last-ditch effort kind of thing, but the medication did end up helping some. I got my feet under me, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to do a couple things for myself. I'm going to get in shape so I can try out for the SWAT team.
Yeah.
I ended up buying a house. So I was like, okay, I'm doing these things for me. I'm going to get myself back, and I'm going to get on the SWAT team, right? And then I'm going to be okay. I closed on my house on October 17th of 22. And on October 18th, I was going lights and sirens through an intersection, and the lady didn't see me, and she T-bones me, and I flip upside down in my Tahoe. I thought I was okay. I ended up having a pretty bad concussion, and I have trauma-related scoliosis from it, so my spine is bent sideways.
Oh my goodness.
So after the crash, not only was my brain broken, my mind was broken, but now my body was too.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see anything other than I had some bruises, stuff. Of course, I walked away from it that day, no broken bones, but I was hurting, like my back, my head, my neck. My doctor didn't care. She gave me 3 days off, and I'm like, I thought concussion protocol, and I knew by then I had a concussion. I'm like, pretty sure concussion protocol is 2 weeks, but who am I? So I was off for a couple days, came back to work. I forgot where I was twice. Like while I'm driving around, I'm like, where am I? Not knowing, like, am I going to call? What am I doing? Then I realized, I still have the concussion. So I had to go back to the doctor, take more time off, which he only gave me light duty. So light duty is you're at the office basically just answering phones. I was not in a good place. Again, the only thing I had going for me was I was doing some things for myself, and I was going to put in for the SWAT team. Well, now physically broken, I couldn't put in for the SWAT team.
Yeah.
People don't realize how much pain I was in because you couldn't see it. It wasn't a bruise or a cut. I didn't have my arm in a sling.
Yeah.
It wasn't something you could see. It was just my back hurts.
Yeah.
My head hurts, my neck hurts. I am losing my crap on every suspect that I talk to. I'm taking it out on them. And then I get reprimanded for some stuff. Some of it I deserved. Some of it I felt I didn't, and I felt they were trying to get rid of me. On November 29th at about 2 in the morning in 2022, That was when I got that reprimand, signed the paperwork, whatever. And I start driving down the interstate about 100 miles an hour. And my plan was to go kill myself. It wasn't something that was a spur of the moment. Yeah, I'm angry, let me go do it. It was something I'd planned it for a long time. It was not a matter of if, but a matter of when. When I started driving down that highway, like tears in my eyes, everything, my intent was to drive several counties over so that no one that I knew would find me, would find my body, and I was gonna get out of the car and call it into whatever police department, sheriff's office was the nearest to where I was at, walk out in the field and shoot myself.
Oh my gosh.
I end up stopping at the exit that I would normally take to go home. And I'm stopped in the middle of the highway, 2 a.m, nobody's there, but I'm literally in the middle of the road. And I think about it and I say, okay, well, I'm angry right now because I just got reprimanded. I said, if I'm gonna make this permanent decision, I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing it and it's really what I wanna do and not because I'm angry. I said, so if I really wanna do it, I'll do it tomorrow. And then the following day, I was working a security gig at Walmart where I'm just sitting in my car outside of Walmart. And I'm sitting there thinking about it. And a buddy of mine, he calls me and he's, hey, what are you doing? Cool, I'm working security. He's like, oh, I'll come by, I'm on duty. I'll just come by and chat with you. So he comes by, we pull up, buddy up door to door. And we're just chatting, whatever. And he's like, is everything okay? And I just looked around and asked him, I said, can I sit in your passenger seat? He said, yeah. So I got in his car and I just bawled and let it out and told him everything. And he held my hand while I cried and was there for me. And the following day, I get a call from my sergeant and he says, hey, can you come to the office? Just want to have a chat with you. Yeah. You're not in trouble. We're both off plain clothes. I walk into his office, and it's him and the lieutenant over patrol. And they said, hey, you're not in trouble, but we know you're not okay.
Yeah.
What can we do to help you?
That's awesome.
One of them, kind of speaks up and opens a conversation to the topic of kind of suicide. Mm-hmm. And I just lost it all over again. And so I told them what I almost did and why I didn't feel that I could come to them for help and stuff because they're on SWAT and they're missing him too and everything. And that lieutenant was then able to give me the time off that I had needed.
Oh, good.
It was initially 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks, the counselor, he goes, yeah, no, I'm not clearing you fit for duty. You're still not okay. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And then it was the journey of coming back. In June of last year, we started a Bible study in the patrol division, or not
amazing.
Patrol, but with the sheriff's office that the new SWAT lieutenant, Chris Daniel, had started. He then got me on the American Warriors Association trip, and I went on the women's trip in October to California.
Oh, amazing.
And it was amazing.
Good.
It helped me both with the long-term situation of losing Josh and still working through some aspects of that. It was a big eye-opener to the fact that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That there's these other people. And, in the beginning when we go around and talk, and I knew this was an opportunity. It's not I intentionally did not put those walls up, right? And when we go around on the first day and kind of tell a little bit, introduce ourselves, tell a little bit of our story, I just went ahead and told it.
Yeah.
And I see in that person next to me who had those walls up, and I see her put those walls down because I've told mine and she realizes she's been through that too. Yeah. And that's kind of my goal now with my department, and especially if we have a death call or something crazy when I'm training them, pull them aside. Hey, what do you think about this? What are you feeling? Here's some things you might experience here. One of my rookies was involved in a shooting. He was there when someone got shot and killed. Like, that's a big deal, you know, and pulling him to the side and checking up on him and talking to his family. Hey, here's your mental health resources that the department provides. Here's the other kind that are out there. Yeah. So being able to, if I had had someone say, hey, these are your resources and how to use them, and when you need to go to them, this is some of the signs, I may have been able to be helped sooner.
After meeting with Rachel, I felt the need to dig just a little bit deeper and hear some other stories of first responders, to see what the job is like, what sacrifices need to be made, and to just shed some light on what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I rode over to one of the local police departments in hopes to talk with one of their officers, and I was connected to the chief of police, Leo Nimsik.
Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. I figured why not talk to the real heroes of Port St. Lucie as I'm coming through here. So me stopping here today, I was kind of like, I just want to hear like your story. How'd you even get into this profession? What was the deciding factor, and what is your day to day?
I was with the NYPD for 7 years before I ended up in Port St. Lucie.
Oh, okay.
So, 7 years in New York City is an awful lot of exposure.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's like drinking from a fire hose, the amount of things that you get put through,
Yeah.
So by the time I got on, I was 1995, 1996. February of 2000, I was working patrol in Queens with my regular partner. And I get dispatched to a complaint, typical disturbance. And I walk to the door, and this elderly lady says, "Yeah, my son's in the basement. He turned off the heat, and I need the heat for my foster kids." And okay, no problem. He's down in the basement, and I go down these basement stairs, and I'm looking for this guy, and all of a sudden I hear a female screaming and yelling down the hall, and I hear a guy grunting. So I end up making my way down the hallway and come around the corner, and I look into this bedroom, and I see this male on top of the female on the bed with large butcher knife, and he was driving it into her chest.
Oh my gosh.
It seemed like a very long amount of time, right? It felt like an eternity, but you're like, mental process, it probably was a matter of less than a second, but it's slowed down in slow motion, and I'm like, I have no choice. So I drew my firearm, ordered him to drop it, and he said, "Shoot me." I ended up having to pull the trigger, and shot him twice, and he ended up dropping, and now I'm trying to render first aid, and I'm watching him. If you're familiar with the death rattle, that changed a job forever. Yeah. Has a lot to do with who I am today. He didn't survive. Fortunately, she did. She had been stabbed 42 times.
Wow.
When I went back to work after that shooting, it was a matter of days. The job had changed. I used to sit in that car and run from call to call. Nothing to it, and there was a lot of violent stuff that we used to go to there.
Yeah.
And then after the shooting, I started having really significant stress. I could feel knots in my gut, and I couldn't understand why. The job was the same as it was before the incident,
Just anxious about the calls that would come through.
Yeah. And I realized at some point that prior to, there was a subconscious mental crutch. It's like, not going to happen to me. For whatever reason, it's not going to happen. But once it does, that crutch has been kicked out, right? A tool that you're used to relying on and using is no longer there. I've been a boss here. I've worn every badge this agency's got up the chain. And, I've been to scenes where people in my charge are through similar incidents. And then it starts to click. You realize, no, I had to go through what I went through and experience what I went through so I can understand what they're going through. And I can be in a position to help them and make sure I'm providing for their needs, right? The craziest situation, I could talk to you a little bit about 9/11. I was with the New York City Police Department. I responded to the World Trade Center.
Oh, wow.
And it just wasn't real. I mean, it's the only way I could describe, I still don't do great talking about my experiences there, but you can't deal with a disaster like that and process it emotionally. You have to do a job. You're there to accomplish a mission, and if you're emotional, you can't do it. So, when you're searching for bodies and body parts and survivors, and you just got to be emotionally detached. I became part of a peer support team in New York City with the NYPD. It was actually run by the union with support of the police department. And I had been involved in that. And then after that experience, after I kind of processed it, I became one of the guys that they would deploy to officer-involved shootings. When I had first got to this agency in 2002, so a little over a year after 9/11, John Skinner was the chief here, and he was a former Detroit cop who had relocated here. And he said, "Wow, tell me more about this peer support thing. Well, peer support is something that, especially 24 years ago, you know, it was considered touchy-feely.
Yeah.
You know, it was not really cool. So here this New York cock comes in, and I'm talking to guys about peer support and tell me about your feelings, and the guys are like, you know, not.
Who's this weird guy that just got here?
Not doing. By the way, son, you speak funny, you know. So it's something that's taken a tremendous amount of time. But as I rose in the ranks and now being the chief of police here, I have a much greater influence, obviously, right? So we do have a peer support team that it's still developing. It always is. You know, we launched an app a few years ago to help us with proactive check-ins. Okay. We're utilizing access to our CAD to try and identify maybe officers who are in jeopardy, who have been to multiple exposures in a short period of time. We got a grant last year, and we brought on a mental health professional to work with the team. And every little change is like, you know, you're taking the environment, introducing something new, so it's got, you know, actions, reactions.
Yeah, some new flavor here and
new
there.
Flavor here, new flavor there, and, you know, so it's a process that we're continually working through. We've been using critical incident debriefs here for quite some time now. Okay. It's something I was trained on in New York as well, and I got us involved in the Treasure Coast Critical Incident Debrief team here, which serves, you know, all agencies, hospitals, 911 in this area. A lot of people think it's a sign of weakness. Yeah. It's not, though. It's a sign of self-awareness and strength by understanding that there's an issue going on and I want to continue to be healthy, so I'm going to seek out help. That's a sign of strength, but it's often seen as a sign of weakness. Yeah. Really, my main goal is to be a servant leader here and make sure that I'm providing for everybody in the organization.
Well, thank you, Leo. Appreciate your service as well, and continue doing what you're doing. Pleasure meeting you.
Too.
It's pretty clear after talking to Rachel and the chief that the hardest battles happen way after the call ends. They happen when you're alone behind closed doors. And listening to Rachel, it can be easy to convince ourselves that we have to push through and stay strong, you know, and handle everything on our own. But healing often begins the moment we allow others to walk beside us. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of courage, and it takes strength to speak up. It takes strength to be honest about what you're going through. So if you're struggling, reach out. Talk to someone you trust, connect with your community, just seek any kind of support you can. Because healing happens when we stop carrying the weight by ourselves.